Call to order the Marshall City Council regular meeting for May 19th, 2025. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Wolfersberger.
Here.
Member Cheney Huggett. Member Gates.
Here.
Member Hackworth.
Here.
Member Skibby.
Here.
Member Traver.
Here.
And Member Underhill.
Here.
We have a quorum, Your Honor.
Thank you. I would ask council to please rise for the invocation from Bill Cole of Maple Grove Bible Church and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you. Lord, we thank you for such a fine day. A couple of just thoughts and requests. We pray for our graduates in the area. Pray for many of them to stay right here and help us here and build here, but guide them wherever they go. Be with the homes that were hit hard by the storms, especially north of here, neighbors north of here, Bellevue, Olivet, Penfield. Help them as they recover. Lord, I pray for all the work that's going on down at the west end with the bridge and whatnot. Give those workers safety. Bless all of them. Lord, we're thankful for our community. So much of its homes, properties, even churches, schools, all the businesses, Lord, is affected right here. And give them wisdom with their expertise and beyond their expertise if it's not here to do what is wise and good for the most. Lord, we pray for a wonderful summer, a prosperous summer in our city. Bless these, our leaders, and bless our country, America. And we do remember those of Marshall that have given their lives in service to our country and died in its wars. And your blessings on their memory and their families. And we pray it all in your name. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. With that, we will move to approval of agenda. Item 6 will be public comment on agenda items. Item 7 is our consent agenda with our council city minutes, city bills, and Blue Oval Trade Secrets confidentiality agreement. There's no presentations or recognitions, no informational items. We have our public hearing, item 10A for the fiscal year 26 budget. Then under reports and recommendations, we have electric department polar tensioner purchase. Item 10B is updated AMP safety and training agreement. 12C is stump removal and turf restoration, followed by item 14, public comment on non-agenda items, council and manager communications, and then we do have a closed session this evening to provide the city manager with his review. And then post-closed section action is to consider modifications to the city manager employment agreement, followed by our adjournment. I would seek a motion regarding the agenda. Oh, excuse me. I do have one amendment that I almost forgot. We need to amend the consent agenda to include the power invoice from Michigan South Central Power Agency in the amount of $810,000. $810,662.64. So with that, I will seek a motion regarding the agenda.
I move to approve the agenda as presented, or excuse me, as amended.
I'll support.
Motion support. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. That moves us to public comment on agenda items. Persons addressing city council are required to give their name and address for the record when called upon by the mayor. Members of the public shall be limited to speaking for a maximum of 3 minutes. Comments shall address agenda item topics. Public hearing items should be addressed during the public hearing portion. Item 10 of the meeting agenda. Non-agenda items shall be addressed during the public comment non-agenda items, item 14 portion of the meeting agenda. Is there anyone wishing to address council this evening on agenda items? Mr. Klingler?
Regis Klingler, 348 Butler Court in Marshall. Just a couple items on the agenda. One was the Blue Oval confidentiality confidentiality agreement. I'm not quite sure why that's needed since there are already FOIA exemptions for trade secrets and financial information. And then who's going to determine that's a trade secret? Only Ford? Financial information is already posted, SEC and other federal requirements, so I'm not sure what additional financial information would be confidential at this point. This is primarily for the construction of the Ford BOPP. I'm sure it's not intended to hide things, but it gives that appearance to the public. So I'm not sure it's the wisest thing to do. The other thing was stump removal. I noticed there's only one bid on those items. I would think if it's not polished, it should be polished to get multiple bids on services provided. There are plenty of local firms that do stump removal. I think it should have gone out for a rebid, so you get at least 3 bids on that at a fair price on that. I looked up, there's at least 5 or 6 stump removals in the Marshall area. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Klingler. Anyone else wishing to address council tonight on agenda items? Mr. Adams?
Barry Wayne Adams, 622 West Green Street. Considering your consent agenda item 7C, again, reiterating what Regis was trying to tell you, the excessive need to depend on confidentiality suggests on its face bad faith. And since these projects are the result of the use of public monies, and in fact, the whole thing is unconstitutional, Article 9, Section 18 of the Michigan Constitution. But anyway, because it is the use of public money, there should be full access by the public to how this is used. And this is the insidiousness of corporate fascism, because in corporate fascism, corporations and government have merged. Their function and operations are the same, but it's 2 sides of the same coin. And the corporate side assumes even though fictional, a private function that can circumvent the requirements of the Constitution. Whereas on the government side of the coin, of course, they have to play by the rules. Our Article 1 of the Michigan Constitution and the Bill of Rights. So this incessant need to rely on non-disclosure agreements, confidentiality agreements, however you want to label them. Probably saying confidentiality agreements now because everybody has a bad taste with non-disclosure agreements. But it is against the spirit of the law. I would have you look at the Michigan Bylaws 750.492, which demands full disclosure of all public records to any interested member of the public. And this is one of the problems we're trying to break through, especially in the use of FOIAs and the ability to concoct rationales to prevent an obstruction to pertinent information that would let the public know how the government is really operating. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. Anyone else wishing to address council tonight on agenda items? Seeing none, we'll move to item 7, our consent agenda. We have our city council minutes from our regular session on May 5th, 2025. We have our city bills, which is purchases from May 2nd, 2025 of $16,674.60. our purchases from May 9th, 2025 of $255,705.72. Our April power purchase of $810,662.64 for a new total of $1,083,042.96. And then we do have item 7C, Blue Oval Trade Secrets Confidentiality Agreement. Seek a motion regarding the consent agenda.
I'll move that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Support. Board, I'm sorry, this is a roll call vote.
Gates,
Yes.
Member Hackworth,
Yes.
Member Skibby,
Yes.
Member Traver, Member Underhill,
Yes.
Mayor Wolfersberger,
Yes.
and Member Teeny Huggett.
Yes.
Motion carries, Your Honor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. That moves us to item 10A, our fiscal year 2026 budget and solution to adopt. And Treasurer Dopp will be presenting.
Good evening. Thank you, council. Here to present the fiscal year 26 budget for public hearing and adoption. The annual budget, as you know, it's a long process. I think if you look at the calendar, it begins in December and up till it's in place on July 1st. So the department heads, directors, and city manager have countless hours on it. So I just want to thank them publicly. Also, council is involved throughout the process as well. First, one of our first meetings is vetted through the finance committee, which has a few of you on there. After that, it's presented to the public packet, which is on April 7th council meeting. It has been available online since that date. There was the following Saturday, a 2.5-hour work session on April 12th. We then set the public hearing this past meeting on May 5th. And here we are tonight. And since I have your attention for a little bit, I know you've gone over this quite a few times, but I figured I'd take some time to go over some of the highlights. First, with the general fund. General fund revenues are budgeted at 9.02 million. Like many municipalities, our main source of revenue is taxes, along with state share revenue, interdepartmental charges, and a few others there. And our general fund expenditures are at 8.9 million, which is a $90,000 surplus this year. More than half of our expenditures, the general fund, are public safety, and also federal government, community development, and public works. As I said, the general fund budget contained in the budget document you have is balanced for recurring operations by $90,000. This includes funding the Safer Grant firefighters, which was 3. That grant ends in August, and that is they're fully funded in this budget document. We've also funded the additional police officer that we added this current fiscal year. We also have a part-time code enforcer budgeted in this upcoming fiscal year budget. And long desired goal of city council has been a new full-time parks maintenance employee. And that is also in this document. We're excited about that one. One last note on the general fund. No capital is budgeted in this document. We're kind of trying to get away from the one-offs fluctuations that you see each year with those capital dollars. It's instead, we've created a special capital projects fund, and I'll get into that shortly. Moving on from the general fund, the total overall budget has revenues of $43.3 million and expenses of $44.1 million. Do not be alarmed by the seemingly $1.8 million deficit. These things are usually caused by timing. It's not abnormal to have planned overall deficit budgets. If you look closer, though, you'll see that the main cause of this discrepancy is the $2.3 million Northeast NIA project. We received those bond funds in this current fiscal year, so the revenues far exceed our expenses. but the majority of that project isn't going to be finished until this upcoming fiscal year. It'll be this calendar year, but it'll be in the next fiscal year. Let's see, I'll take a couple minutes to also point out a few highlights from the non-general fund documents. As I stated earlier, the Special Capital Projects Fund we created is a fund that we will utilize Marshall House revenues from, as well as general fund account balance that is in excess of the city's fund balance policy on an ongoing annual basis. And we're gonna also try to leverage that with state and federal grants. A lot of times you see these matching grants and we don't have a spot for those. So this will give us a revenue for that. It's also planned for fiscal year 26 that we're going to do a large infusion into the motor pool fund. It's kind of been in a rough situation the last 10, 15 years, really. It's been hard to keep that balance, and we're going to give it the funds it needs. And going forward, I think we're in a better situation. Just quick notes on the enterprise funds. All of them have balanced budgets in this document. Electric has 1.5 million available for capital outlay. Wastewater is doing sewer lining and some engineering for a collection system model. Water will continue to do their lead line investigation replacement program. And we also have some planned tower maintenance. Fiber has positive cash flow, and we plan on replacing some aging switches and routers. Internal service funds, which are the information technology, IT, and motor pool funds. For 2026, information technology shows a planned use of fund balance. We have to replace 6 switches and do some necessary PC replacements across multiple departments. Motor pool is receiving that 1.5 million I was talking about earlier from the Special Projects Fund. They do some capital outlay set forward. We're getting a pickup truck, 2 dump trucks, a wood chipper, a mower, and a police department patrol unit. That's the Cliff's Note version of the fiscal year 26 budget. I'm available if council has any questions. I appreciate all your help on this too.
Thank you, William.
Thanks.
With that, I will open the public hearing. Persons addressing city council are required to give their name and address for the record when called upon by the mayor. Members of the public shall be limited to speaking for a maximum of 3 minutes per public hearing. Does anyone wish to address city council on the fiscal year 26 budget public hearing? Mr. Klingler.
Regis Klingler, 348 Butler Court in Marshall. Just as William was pointing out, there's a lot of money that's been made available, and that is being moved from the Marshall House to motor pool, and there's 3 firefighter positions and 1 new police officer being funded and a full-time parks maintenance. I also think that the budget has and the forecasting of another $900,000 in addition to the budget surplus, which is $900,000 over the minimum required. I'm sorry. So again, I think it's very important that consideration be considered for environmental tech planner position. I think that is going to be a lot more environmental issues coming up now and in the future. It will relieve some of the city supervisors from the work they're doing now. If that can be concentrated on one person, that person can do the heading up grant writing for environmental purposes, which I think is a big task that could be farmed out to them. And I think it's important to the residents. By the city's own surveys, that was the #1 environmental issue was clean water and environmental protection. So I believe the city residents have stated they think that's very important. I think probably even more important than having a maintenance person for the Parks Department. Second issue, I don't know if it's been considered, but I hope that it was considered that with the new tariffs being implemented by the federal government, that has been taken into account in the budget. There's obviously going to be some price increases. Quite a few, if that stays permanent. There's already affecting prices in stores and things, especially from China, and going to affect every country. So I hope there's some room in the budget to absorb that kind of increase. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Klinger. Anyone else wishing to address council tonight about the budget? Mr. Adams?
Again, Barry Wayne Adams, 622 West Green Street. Life is what happens when you're busy making plans. And although you're still trying to go along with the same business as usual format, maybe people should take into consideration the recent significant changes that have happened up in Lansing. I think it happened in the past month. There was a package of bills dealing with foreign influence of public bodies and associated issues like foreign influence of the Michigan Strategic Fund and several other components of that. But they're starting to see that it was bad judgment in making these prior decisions that involved participation of certain foreign entities. And as it's spelled out in these bills, one of them is the People's Republic of China. And of course, through its corporate forms. So there may be some interesting and monumental changes in what's happening. And in addition, the recent attempt by Lansing to usurp centralized control over local zoning issues got repealed. So that's going to be coming back down to little localities, and that means that the localities need to take greater responsibility, like Regis is trying to allude to be more concerned about the concerns of the body politic rather than body corporate. And that includes preservation of the purity of our basic resources. Now, in the past 5 years, there have been over 50 large-scale lithium battery plant fires. It does happen. It's inevitable. And we don't want to have that happen upwind from Marshall. There's still opportunities to change your minds. Again, I brought up the issue of hempcrete. Do some research on that. That would be a perfect place to produce hempcrete construction materials, which are actually carbon negative and a superior construction material.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. Anyone else wishing to address? Yes.
Emily Emerson Rich, 616 Union Street, Marshall. On the budget, beginning page 156 of 182. And yes, I am one of those people that read every single line because that's how I do my budget at home. I hope that's how you all do your budgets at home too. Those are the listings, for different fees that are assessed against residents for different violations. I'd like to bring a couple to your attention. The first one is the mobile food vendor permits or licensors. They're allowed to have 3 days per week for one location at $200. And for a new business, that can be a significant thing, especially when you've added on a $25 for each additional location. So if they want to park here at the fountain for something, and then they want to go to Stewart's Landing, that's an additional. And if they want to go over to a different park, that's additional things. So that's just, it's a lot of extra fees. And I don't see that in other cities that that's required. So I'm just bringing that to your attention. Hopefully that we can modify that or eliminate at least that additional $25 fee per location. I know that we actually have a food truck that is a resident here in our town. And it's about fostering that and encouraging their success to stay in the city instead of having to leave to go into other cities to make their money. The next item is looking at what your fines are for garbage and rubbish versus trash. I'm not sure the difference between rubbish and trash, but you have it on two different lines. There's a first offense, a second offense, and a third offense. For snow and ice removal, but not for trash and rubbish. And in my opinion, when I look around and I see a bunch of trash on porches and trash cans being left out, that's much more of an eyesore than if my snow isn't shoveled. I understand that that's a safety issue, but what are we gonna do at $50, $150, and $500 fees for some of these senior and differently abled residents that cannot get out and shovel their snow? Or once the plant starts, the factory starts, when we have third shift workers that then come home and sleep, they're gonna be in violation because it hasn't been removed in a timely manner. So I know in Lansing, the city council actually volunteers. They've created a phone tree, and it starts with the board members of volunteering to take care of the snow and trash removal for these residents. And I'd like to encourage you to do the same for Marshall. We start with a list of the people that have the need, and then we start with volunteers that can provide that need to them. We have plenty of kids in school that need honor roll and outlets to pad their resumes for college, and a lot of folks that can help. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address council on the budget? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Any comments, questions, or discussion on the budget?
Well, I'd just say thank you to William and to City Manager Perry and staff for all their hard work on it. It's encouraging to see all the progress that's been made on the city's budget and fiscal health over the years, and to see some of these long-term goals begin to be addressed as the budget proceeds. So just appreciate your hard work.
Any other questions, comments, or discussion? All right, I'll echo those sentiments. The difference between our budget process when I started on council and now is pretty remarkable in the best ways. And I really appreciate your work and the staff, all of staff, to make sure that the city is on such great financial footing. I will take your comments to heart, and we will assess those. I think they deserve more thought and discussion than we're gonna, give in this forum, but we can always amend this process, later if we identify areas we want to address. Thank you. With that, I will seek a motion regarding the fiscal year 2026 budget.
I move that we approve the fiscal year 26-27 budget as presented. Fiscal year 26 budget as presented.
Yeah.
Do have a recommended motion that speaks to the resolution 2025-12. In the admin report, there should be a recommendation.
I move we approve resolution 2025-12, the City of Marshall General Appropriation Act and Tax Levy Resolution approving the City of Marshall budget, fee schedule, and related property tax millage rates for fiscal year 2026.
Support.
I have a motion support. So roll call vote, please.
Member Hackworth,
Yes.
Member Skibby,
Yes.
Member Traver, Member Underhill,
Yes.
Member Wolfersberger,
Yes.
Member Cheney Huggett,
Yes.
Member Gates.
Yes.
Motion carries, Your Honor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. That moves us to item 12A, Electric Department Puller Tensioner Purchase, and Director Maynard.
Good evening. We have two items for your consideration this evening. The first is recommendation to award the bid for a electric department puller tensioner. We use this piece of equipment to pull in new conductor for overhead lines, underground cable for underground installations. And we've been doing quite a little bit of work here lately and not only extending lines, but also in voltage conversion projects. And we think those things will continue. We, in past years, the Michigan South Central Power Agency owned a puller that each of the members shared. They disposed of that a couple of years ago, and so we've borrowed a puller from Coldwater and from Sturgis. And last year, we rented one for the extension out there to the city water and wastewater facilities west of town. So we put in this year's budget $200,000 to purchase one. We solicited bids, received, I think, 5 bids here. 4 of them were for the same piece of equipment, a Sherman and Riley puller tensioner. And so that would be our recommendation. It appears that Sherman and Riley is the lowest bid at $151,529 base bid plus $9,979 for hydraulic leveling jacks for a total of $161,508. I'm glad to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Kevin. Any questions, comments, or discussion?
Is there's no agreement, we can't borrow, we can't this type of equipment still from another entity or purchase with another entity so that we could actually share a piece of equipment to reduce costs?
We could certainly investigate that, but as I mentioned, Coldwater has their own, but it's the old puller that the MSCPA had. And the last time we borrowed it, some things broke on it. And then we get into the thing of having to repair somebody else's equipment. Sturgis has been very gracious in letting us borrow theirs. But at some point, with the work that we have ahead of us, we don't think that we can legitimately keep going and asking them to borrow that from them.
So there's increasing need.
That is correct.
To the lack of.
That is correct. That is correct. You know, one of the things in the long term we expect that we would like to do is to build an electric distribution feeder around the major site there, connected at Pearl Street Substation and Brooks Substation in anticipation of additional industry locating on that site out there. But we also have developed a formal voltage conversion plan that will require us in some cases to replace overhead conductor if it's aging or if it's undersized. And in most cases, the underground cable is rated at 4,000 volts and we're operating at 12,470. So we have to replace that old cable with newer cable that will withstand the higher voltage, 15 kV cable. Yeah.
What's the expected lifespan of this piece of equipment?
I would guess 30 to 40 years. It should last a good long time.
Any other questions, comments, or discussion?
So when we borrow that from Sturgis or we borrow that from Coldwater, we're paying how much?
We don't
Okay,
pay them.
so they actually just let us borrow it.
Yeah, we try to help each other out with things if we can. Now, we did rent one last year because of the size of the cable that we were pulling in the conduit there and the length of those cables. And I think we had it.
So will we allow others to borrow ours as well? How does that work?
Well, we don't have one currently.
Currently, right, but if we were to have one.
Yeah, sure. If it was an occasional thing.
Right.
I think you reach a point with those kinds of arrangements where people finally say, well, maybe you ought to think about getting one of your own if you're going to be using it that much. But But yeah, generally, we all try to help each other if they need something or we need something like that. So.
How often do you think you're gonna use this piece of equipment? Like every day during the summer, you know?
No, but what we've got planned, I think it'll get plenty of use in the future. Because this is gonna become a bigger part of what we've done. We've tried to become more proactive in our approach to operations rather than run to failure. To try to be ahead of these things to help ensure that we have reliable service by replacing these things on our timetable when it makes the most sense on straight time instead of call outs for overtime and increasing the length of the outages that people see. So this is all part of that program.
Actually have another beneficial effect to the customers. And not only you having the piece of equipment available to you whenever you need it, but it's not eventually over time help everybody, the customer.
That is correct. In the same manner that our pole replacement program is working, our meter replacement programs are working. Yes, very much.
The only thing I'll echo and comment, as Kevin indicated, we're looking at a substantial voltage conversion project for the city. We're like 15 years worth of work. So when you start looking at that and evaluating that piece of equipment, it makes sense for us. We're not going to be able to one-off it with the city of Sturgis like
Yeah.
maybe we do when we have an emergency or something. This truly is a big scale project where we're going to be replacing a lot of the lines out there. So it's the cost of doing business if we're going to do that type of conversion.
And when you speak to the reason we're doing that conversion?
I'll let the electrical expert read that, but basically it is, yeah.
There's a number of reasons. First and foremost, the 4160 volt system is typically our oldest distribution lines. Under some of them, the underground is direct buried. It's not in conduit. And 30 or 40 years ago, the standard was to bury this cable that had a concentric neutral. So if you've ever seen those Chinese handcuffs, that you put your fingers in, that's what that looks like. It's a braided cable that's on the outside. The downside of it is that it's in contact with moist soil, which creates a battery cell, a cathodic cell, and it ends up eating that concentric neutral, and then we have a fault. And we have an unscheduled outage in somebody's backyard where they've got a shed built now and there's a boat parked over here. And so it's very difficult if we wait until those things happen to start the replacements. So that's the first thing. But if we raise the voltage from 4160 to 12470, Ohm's law says if we raise the voltage, the current and the resistance goes down. Okay, so we can put more power on the same, if we didn't even change the conductor, it can carry 3 times the power that it would at that lower voltage. So if we're looking at the electrification of, EVs here and growing electrical needs, one of the ways we can get ourselves a little more wiggle room on the existing system is by doing this voltage conversion. The third thing is, as I mentioned, if we're able to reduce resistance, we drop our losses. And we have about 8% losses in our distribution system now. And for a system of our size, that should be closer to 5.5 instead of 8. What that translates into is we buy 140 million kilowatt hours a year for this town. About 8 million of it is in unbilled losses. So if we can reduce those losses, then we reduce that cost to all of our customers. So it's about running a more efficient and reliable system that has greater flexibility for load growth, not knowing how to plan for all of that, seeing how that sort of plays out, but it'll give us a lot more flexibility. And if we can get everything converted to 12470, then we can tie circuits to any of our 3 substations. Right now, we have limited number of tie points because we can only connect 4160 to 4160 and 12470 to 12470. So in some cases, that increases the size of an outage area, when we experience an outage, or it increases the length of the outage. So if we could get our system all converted, then we would have a lot of flexibility for planning those maintenance outages. And again, doing it on our time like we did this voltage conversion, which we were able to accomplish in about 3 hours for 100 customers. Now that can be tied to any other 12-470 volt circuit in the city. Does that help answer your questions?
Thank you, Kevin. Any other questions, comments, or discussion? Thank you, Kevin. Unless there's anything else, I will seek a motion regarding item 12A.
We approve the puller tensioner bid from Sherman and Riley of Chattanooga, Tennessee in the amount of $161,508 or $151,529 base bid plus $99.79 for hydraulic leveling jacks, and authorize the city manager to sign necessary documents.
I'll support.
Motion support, and it's a roll call vote, please.
Member Traver,
Yes.
Member Underhill,
Yes.
Mayor Wolfersberger,
Yes.
Member Cheney Huggett,
Yes.
Member Gates,
Yes.
Member Hackworth,
Yes.
and Member Skibby.
Yes.
Motion carries, Your Honor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Thank you. The second item for your consideration
Kevin,
is.
let me introduce it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right. We'll now move on to item 12B, updated AMP safety and training agreement. And Kevin will present on this as well.
Again, my apologies. No problem. We have a safety program that AMP administers here. They come up here at least quarterly and do training for our electric distribution, power plant, metering staff. And some of those even include pole top and bucket rescue programs. Others are more general type of safety programs. And we've operated under that agreement, I would guess, for probably 20 or 25 years anyway. But AMP is in the process of updating their safety agreements with their member communities. We have also added a new service here. They're helping us get our power plant apprenticeship program certified through the Department of Labor. And they will be assisting us with the record keeping that we have to provide to the DOL for that program. So they've requested that we take a look at an updated agreement. We shared this with the city attorney, who's reviewed it as to form and approved as to form. And there's no additional cost here. This really just sets up the structure under which we would operate these programs, not the costs of them.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, or discussion?
Does that certification give us any kind of a reduction in the whatever the workman's comp or any of the workers' compensation or insurance or anything like that for the insurability of our?
Not that I'm aware of, unless Michelle may be aware of something there.
Yeah, I'm not 100% confident in that. However, workman's comp, those rates are obviously set by experience, exposure, and, they do look at, formalized training and safety programs and all that. And I don't know if Kevin, you want to take a minute and just talk about, distribution line crew has kind of like a formalized training program, and we're kind of on the leading edge of creating a program for our power generation folks. And this is a component of that.
Yeah, it's a 4-year program, and it includes 2 years working through the power plant technician program administered by the Kansas Municipal Utilities Association and Cowley College. So it's an online program for the first 2 years that our operators have started on their nearing the end of their first year of that program. Then they will have 2 years of substation training through the National Line Workers College. And so we've put all of the paperwork together that we need for Department of Labor certification with AMP. And we'll hopefully get these documents signed here in the next few days and be ready to submit that. But AMP will also be offering this program that we've developed to all of its 130 plus member communities in 9 states. And a lot of them do have power generation as part of their electric departments. So they think it's a good program that maybe we started here in Marshall, but may spread to some other places across the United States. And they will get a Department of Labor journeyman certification that can be taken anywhere. You know, we hope they stay here, of course, but but just like our line workers, they have a DOL journeyman card when they complete their 4 years of training.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions, or discussion? I'll just simply add, I think safety is our first responsibility. You know, we owe it to every employee to send them home the same way they came to work. So any program we can put in that helps empower them to understand their processes and their risks better, I think is well worth the time and effort. So with that, I will seek a motion regarding item 12B.
I move that we approve resolution number 2025-13, a resolution to approve the execution of a schedule with American Municipal Power Incorporated for participation in safety and training programs and authorize the city manager to sign the necessary documents.
Support.
I have motion and support, and this is also roll call.
Member Underhill,
Yes.
Mayor Wolfersberger,
Yes.
Member Cheney Huggett,
Yes.
Member Gates,
Yes.
Member Hackworth,
Yes.
Gibby, and Member Traver. Motion carries, Your Honor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.
That moves us to item 12C, stump removal and turf restoration, and Director Davenport, please.
Good evening. Tonight for you, I have 2 contracts for all related to stump removal within the city on public property and within the public right of way. We issued bids for stump removal, and we only received 1 bid for stump removal, and we also issued bids separately for turf restoration. We also only received 1 bid for that. And so we are recommending award to the only bidder, Thompson Construction LLC of Coldwater, Michigan. We currently have over 250 stumps in our inventory that need to be removed. We are looking to remove around 150 of those yet this year. And this contract that I outlined with the pricing tonight would get that done. Excuse me, just lost my spot. I don't have anything else for you, but I'm happy to answer questions.
Just one comment. Can you speak to the difficulty, the struggle we've had in trying to get competitive bids for this project? I mean, this is the 2nd or 3rd time that we've gone out to bid, and for whatever reason, we've struggled with this. And these are public bids. So I don't know if speak to that maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. So I issued bids in fall of 24 for stump removal, and I didn't get any bidders. And I reached out to those who had registered as what we call plan holders on the website. So they registered, and looked at the documents, said, you know, what prevented you from bidding? Most of the feedback at that time was the insurance requirements in our documents were difficult for smaller companies to meet. And so in working with Christy Ramey, our purchasing agency, I modified the insurance qualifications after reviewing like what our requirements are from our insurance carrier, and reissued bids most recently. And I still had a lot of trouble to get bids. I mean, there seems to be a lot of interest, like people look at it, companies look at it, but they don't bid on it. And actually Thompson Construction, I had to like pull their bid out of them because they had concerns and they had some questions on the documents, which they had not asked previously. Long story short, I was able to answer the questions and make that work. So I thought insurance was the issue. Apparently, it wasn't the only issue because we only got one bid. Other things that I think could be is just the scope of work. Potentially, people who have stump grinding machines are doing other things outside of just stump grinding, and they don't have the capability to come in and just focus on that. Another technique that I tried, and the reason that we have turf restoration and stump removal, is I split those out. So oftentimes our level of requirements from a turf restoration standpoint are difficult for contractors, right? Just across the board, construction, water main, street construction. I mean, turf, it's just difficult to get people to grow grass, which is interesting. But anyway, so I split that out thinking I'd get someone who could just do turf restoration, like was set up, just come in and do like an area and, knock it out. Again, still struggling. So, those are the difficulties. I think some of it is the scope of the work. And I don't know where we move forward, except for I'm recommending tonight that we authorize Thompson Construction for the amount of money outlined in the report. Let's make some progress this year. Let's see how they do. And assess the situation after that.
Thank you. I'm super excited about this. I've been wanting this for a long time. I do agree with Regis. I wish we had more bids but we've tried.
Yeah.
We've tried. Do you have any concern that they will not be able to do everything scoped out to be done with their concerns and hesitation to even put in a bid? Is there any concern that they won't be able to do the work?
No, they have an opening in their schedule. Like they have the availability, they're ready to get on it. One of their biggest hesitations in the bid is the way that our current inventory of stumps is we have different measurements for, how they're sized. And they thought that some of what we were asking for was tree removal, not just stump removal. And so I don't really know why they thought that, because to me, it's very clear, but obviously they thought that. So after I talked through it, I said, no, that was the size of the tree before the tree was removed. It's currently removed. You just need to come in and take the stump out. They're like, oh, okay, let's do it. So I always have concerns that a contractor can get done what I think they can get done, but that's because I work in the industry I work in, not anything other than that.
Okay, another question?
Yeah.
So the plan is for 149 of these to be done this year. How do you have them rated? Like what comes first, what's last?
Yeah, there's not a priority. So I will outlined, actually last fall, I just picked a section of town and said, there's a high density of stumps in this area. We'll do this and we'll do this.
Actually, had someone asked me this weekend if there was going to be a sign up for getting your stump removed.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that means that there will be some winners and some losers. People will think that, well, my stump's been here longer. I'm sure I don't have that data to say which one is the oldest.
I agree. We have to get moving on it. That the hole we dug is big. 250 stumps is a lot of stumps. So yeah, thank you.
I will also add that I did do a review with staff, my DPW superintendent, our working foreman, on what does it look like if we buy a stump grinder, right? So, possible, you can buy them. They're around $100,000 for one that we would need. So another puller tensioner kind of discussion. but then it comes down to the capacity to actually do it. And so at that point, we're like, we would be proposing added staff, at that point to try and get that done. For a year, labor overhead, including the machine, which, you know, if you wanted to expense it over just the first year, which you don't do, but I mean, you'd be $250,000 into 1 year. And yes, you would have it. But you still have that expense that you have to get going. And, while I would love to have an added headcount in DPW, I think that right now this is a way to go, because I think if we get caught up, if we get out of underneath our weight of 250 stumps, maintaining it with our tree management program, is attainable with a contractor.
And to clarify, this contract is only for 149, not the 250.
Correct.
So the 111 would still be out for future bidding.
Correct. I did structure the RFP, so I do have pricing from them for future years. I actually have pricing. They submitted pricing through 2029. And I did that in an effort to give us flexibility, right? So if for whatever reason we don't get off 149 in, we already have a price for next year, or when we do, we can say, contractor, you did a wonderful job, please come back. Here's our budget. You know, this means you can get the, I know the pricing, I can build that in.
Sorry, another question. So is this a per tree cost? Like if they only get 130 done, are we paying the full amount in the contract?
It's based on the size. So it's a per unit price. So a 20-inch stump is I don't know this by heart, $200. A 60-inch stump is $400.
I got it now. Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, so as someone who had a tree removed and then was told we don't have money for removing the stump or beautification of your lawn or anything like that, and I paid for my own because I just wanted it gone.
Yes.
And it's not beautiful, but it's better than it was. I'm excited for this. I do have a couple questions though. Have you compared our proposal, our RFP with other municipalities? What is it about ours that, you know, people aren't liking? I have a problem with not knowing what's wrong with our proposal versus other municipalities. And then the other thing is the state of Michigan buys everything. And I know you bought trucks and things like that through My Deal. Do they have a stump removal person or persons that they use? Those are just ideas and questions.
Those are great questions. I do not recall, typically when I write an RFP, I'm always looking at something. I don't recall. It's been a long time since I wrote this one, so I don't recall exactly what other entities did, nor have I compared it recently. And then an approved contractor through the state of Michigan, I did not think of it that way. I would have done that if we purchased a stump grinder. Certainly would have gone to My Deal and said, what can I get, right? But we don't typically use like a contract type service through the state. We usually have to bid it out ourselves.
We actually, I mean, I don't know if other municipalities don't have the same problem.
I don't know. I left mine for a couple of years and then I got tired of it, looking at it and trying to figure out what I was going to do with it. So I paid $250 and got my stump sort of taken care of. I mean, it's still there, but it's way better than it was. So, you know, it's like.
I do think the scale of the project is intimidating, especially for some of the smaller outfits that, again, a lot of times they're tree removal companies, right? And that's just part of the process. So do they want to dedicate a crew to go just grind stumps in Marshall all summer long? I think that's some of the issues we're running into. And the city just got backlogged again because we did not have essentially the the revenue to be able to work on this project. So if the can got kicked down the proverbial road. We're in a different position, you know, we're just saying it's time to get started on this.
So Teresa took care of one, so that's 249. Closer. I had somebody in my ward also had a tree removed by the city and they were upset by it and I paid for theirs out of my own pocket. So at $300 a year to sit in this seat to do that kind of stuff, like, that's, yeah, so I'm excited. I'm in favor of this project.
Yeah, the same. It's not ideal, you know, obviously we'd love to have, you know, comparable bids, but, yeah, I think at this point we just need to take action and, you know, again, you know, chop down a little bit of this hill.
I mean, do we want to kick the can down the road another year and then have 400, or not really 400, but
Oh, could be.
300?
That would not be my recommendation.
Exactly. I think we need to get started on this and.
I would like to make a motion that we approve the stump removal bid with Thompson Construction in the amount of $55,675 with a contingency of $10,000 for a total funded amount of $65,675, and the turf restoration bid with Thompson Construction in the amount of $26,820 with a contingency of $6,000 for a total funded amount of $36,820, and authorize the city manager to sign all of the necessary documents.
I'll support.
A motion and support, and it's a roll call vote, please.
Member Cheney Huggett,
Yes.
Member Gates,
Yes.
Member Hackworth,
Yes.
Member Skibby,
Yes.
Member Traver,
Yes.
Member Underhill,
Yes.
Mayor Wolfersberger.
Yes.
Motion carries, Your Honor.
Thank you, Marguerite. Thank you, Madam Clerk. That brings us to public comment on non-agenda items. Persons addressing city council are required to give their name and address for the record when called upon by the mayor. Members of the public shall be limited to speaking for a maximum of 2 minutes. Anyone wishing to address council tonight on non-agenda items?
Regis Gunler, 348 Butler Court in Marsh. I know this is a agenda item, but on the wood stump removal, you might want to see if other communities have one that could be used or borrowed, just like the electric department does on their equipment. Suggestion, or maybe rent one rather than buying one, might be something to look into. The first item I had was that I was advised that this was not the forum for interaction with the council. So again, I'd like to suggest having a monthly coffee or town meeting or something where questions can be answered and replies to concerns of people in the community. I think that would be a good thing on a monthly basis to have. Maybe you have to rotate department heads there on different issues, but I think that would be a good idea. I believe some area, I think Emmett Town should start to do something like that. I think it's a good idea to promote your transparency and communication with the residents. Also, now that the budget's done, I would hope that the 5-year plan and economic development plan could be worked out and come up for a public hearing sooner than later. It seems we're kind of doing it backwards, but those are important documents. So I think they should have the priority now if the budget's done. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Klingler. Anyone else wishing to address council on non-agenda items? Yes, ma'am. Whatever. Mr. Adams, welcome back.
Mary Wayne Adams again, 622 West Green Street again. Any person who is a user of tools knows that if you use a tool a lot, you buy the tool. If you only use a tool sporadically, you rent the tool. So take that into your decision-making so you won't be stumped about the question. Thank you, Regis. We've been over protesting at the fountain numerous issues about objections to the mega site. One of them being the participation of the Contemporary Amperex Technology Limited, which is a front organization of the Communist Chinese Party. Warning about the potential hazards of engaging in agreements and participating in their agenda as to how the electric vehicle industry should be developed. And as we just found out last week, they have found what are being described as rogue devices in the solar panels, which can alter the function of the solar panel from a different source. And we should be questioning everything that is being done. If you haven't looked at what's happened over at Moss Landing, California, with the battery plant over there, don't want that to happen here. They run a perfectly good agriculturally producing valley that produced 70% of the nation's vegetables, now permanently polluted.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. Yes, ma'am.
Emily Emerson Rich, 616 Union Street, Marshall. I just want to agree with Regis. There is a slight hindrance though, when you have meetings during the day, especially during the week. Many of our residents are unable to attend. They are at their jobs or daycare issues or whatever. So instead of just a coffee chat, which I think is wonderful, but also maybe something along the lines of a town hall, something that could be held in the evenings so that more people could participate and to have discourse, and hopefully we can all be very grown up about it and have it be easygoing. But I think that is important because even though we're bringing issues to you here, it's not a discussion format. So we bring them to you and then you're just kind of left, but you're voting almost immediately on things without letting it simmer and set with it and, maybe really take it into a deeper consideration to where things could be modified or altered. Not that they will be, but that becomes a new option. So it becomes more of a collaboration that we're participating together with the city, which I think that really means a lot to your constituents. Thank you.
Thank you. Moves us to council and manager communications. Member Skibby. For Gates.
From me, thank you.
For Hackworth.
I would actually like to give a shout out to the water department for an incredible job they did at my house. So very professional. I think it's Ruben West is one of the employees. Incredible guy. Very, very knowledgeable, very thorough. Spent 2 or 3 hours at my house trying to find out what the issue was. Ended up being lead main and a bad elbow on the street side. They came out, took care of it, came out, laid grass seed down, laid straw down. But it was just very professional and well done. So I just want to thank the water department for their thorough work.
Thank you. Yes.
Last weekend was the Oaklawn Color Classic 5K and Fun Run. And it was very successful. They had 839 people sign up and run the races. And so I just wanted to thank the city staff, police, fire, everyone involved in the safety of the runners and making sure the course remained closed to oncoming traffic and cars trying to get in and out. So it was a success, and it's a large part due to the city's involvement. So thank you.
Thank you. Member Underhill.
Nothing to me. Thank you.
Member Cheney Hugger.
I have nothing tonight. Thank you.
City Manager Perry.
Couple items. One, Public Works, they're holding their open house at the water treatment plant and wastewater treatment plant on Wednesday, May 21st from 4 to 6 p.m. So if you're interested in viewing those facilities, encourage folks to go to those. The master plan schedule, so at the last planning commission meeting, they did a kind of a draft introduction of that. They'll have their formal review at the June 11th meeting. That'll then come before city council. We're anticipating the June 16th meeting. And at that point, you would formally receive it and begin that 63-day comment period. Again, the draft is available on the city website if someone wants to look at it. They don't have to wait till June 16th to do that. And then we'll be pushing out some social media, potentially even running an ad in the advisor kind of things, so folks can provide some feedback based on that. Other things, the patronicity.com, encourage folks to go there. That's for the athletic field expansion, pickleball, splash pad. We have 41 days to raise $50,000. So if folks want to buy a brick, I'd encourage you to do that and jump on and participate in that. And then finally, the Memorial Day ceremony and parade is Monday, May 26th. Streets close at 9 a.m. and typically starts the service at 9:30. So encourage folks to attend that too if they're able. That's it.
Thank you, sir. Madam Clerk? Thank you. Yeah, the color run was a lot of fun, well organized and good participation. We do have a very busy couple things coming up. As Manager Perry pointed out, the water and wastewater open houses on Wednesday. There's also a MEDA event, 501 social hour. And then the council did receive an invitation for the iconic Marshall movie premiere. It says, "Dear Mayor Wolfersberger and council members, hi, I am a member of Mrs. Douglas's fifth grade class, and me and my class would please like you to guys and girls to come to our movie event on May 21st. We want you to come because we have been making these documentaries for over a month, and we worked really hard on these 16 documentaries. We would really like you to come, so pretty please come. Sincerely, your citizens, Mrs. Douglas's fifth grade class." And this is Wednesday, May 21st at 6 p.m. at the Bogar. It is free for all to attend, so I would encourage anyone able to not disappoint fifth graders. That, and we have obviously we have the Memorial Day remembrances on Monday, as well as the parade. So I'd encourage everyone to participate in that as well. With that, I would seek a motion regarding 16A, closed session for city manager review.
I move to close session pursuant to Section 8A of the Michigan Open Meetings Act to consider a periodic evaluation of an employee. The named individual requests a closed hearing.
So moved, or excuse me, support.
Motion and support, and so roll call, please.
Member Gates,
Yes.
Member Hackworth,
Yes.
Member Skibby,
Yes.
Member Traver, Member Underhill,
Yes.
Mayor,
Yes.
and Member Cheney Huggett.
Yes.
Motion carries, Your Honor.
Thank you. We are in closed session. This is the item 17A, post-closed session action, city manager employment agreement. I think I have much to say here. So wanting to have our excellent city manager continue with us for as long as possible, we do want to move forward with a adjustment to the employment agreement, and I would seek a motion for that.
I move that we modify the city manager employment agreement to adjust his review date to July 1st to coincide with other city staff, I also recommend that we grant a salary increase to $165,000 beginning July 1, 2025. And also grant him with a $6,000 bonus,
Performance bonus. Yeah.
performance bonus, payable now,
Sure.
payable now.
Why not? I have a motion. Do I have support?
Support.
Motion and support, and I'm sure this is a roll call vote.
Member Hackworth,
Yes.
Member Skibby,
Yes.
Traver,
Absolutely. Yes.
Member Underhill,
Yes.
Mayor Wolfersberger,
Yes.
Member Cheney Huggett,
Yes.
Member Gates.
Yes.
Motion carries, Your Honor.
Thank you so much. And again, Manager Perry, appreciate everything you do for the city. We see it, we recognize it, and we're so happy to have you here.
Well, thank you very much. I'm obviously very humbled by this. I truly appreciate it. But I'd be reticent if I didn't say these things don't happen without the entire team, right? So I'm eternally grateful for everything that the city team does for the city council and its residents too. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, with no other business on the agenda, I will seek a motion for an adjournment.
So moved.
Motion and support. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We are adjourned.